If you don't have mental and physical toughness, but you got talent, but you're playing football, guess what? You're not going to make it. And that's why the guys that have grit always make it. And those are the guys you love to watch out in the field because they get knocked right on their ass and they get right back up.
Welcome to the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast, where we break down a new Shawnism each week. Each one of these is a lesson I've learned along the way in hopes that you can maybe learn from my mistakes and build great things even bigger, better, and faster than I ever did, perhaps shaving off a decade or two of your own journey. Like the podcast, please follow it wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend. My book called Let Me Save You 25 Years, where today's topic comes from, is intentionally really short. So think of this podcast as a long version of that book where we get to go deep into these Shawnisms that each chapter is based on. Just like our topic today, grit is half the game. Okay. So the story from the book I share that leads into this topic is we've taken this big order. It's our first big order. It's a $250,000 sale for Lovesac. For a big retailer nationally. They need these sacks like in a few months for Christmas at this low price. I have to go get them made in China. There's this whole story about me speaking Chinese, whatever. And now I've flown back home to build a sack stuffing factory on credit cards because didn't have the money to buy like a German shredder. I've got all these friends showing up after, going to school. We're all in college. They show up to help me build out the factory. I've cash advanced the first month's rent of this old warehouse on my credit card so I could get going. We've had to build tables with wood from Home Depot, whatever. And basically, September, 5 a.m., I'm at a gas station filling up 4 red cans full of diesel fuel to go dump into the farm tractor that's going to shred foam for us. Powering the hay buster of Home Shredder. And basically we spend the first 2 weeks stuffing enough sacks to fill the first full truckload. So these are filled up little love sacks, shrunken down into plastic bags, 1/8 the original size, then packed into boxes to fill up a truckload. And what was supposed to take us a week took us 2 weeks, also took us double shifts. So we're working, 6, 7 a.m., to the afternoon. And then those temp laborers go home, their cousins come in, and we work until the nighttime because basically we filled so few sacks in that first shift that we knew we'd have to go double shifts. We knew it was going to take us twice as long. We knew that our profitability was blown because we underestimated how much labor it was going to take. It was just a mess, but we're into production. There's no turning back now. And the first semi trucks to receive pallets of these stacked shrunken love sacks shows up, and we've loaded all these pallets to 13 feet because they've told us they're sending a 13-foot truck. Well, the truck backs up. We go to load the pallet in, and like the pallet doesn't even come close to fitting inside the truck. It's like 3 feet too tall. And we're like, what the heck? I'm next thing you know, I'm on the phone with the trucking company. I'm like, you guys sent us the wrong truck. This truck's too short. What the heck? And they're like, I don't, it's a standard semi truck. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you said you were sending us 13-foot trucks. And in this conversation, I come to learn that 13 feet is measuring from the ground up. So you've got, the space for the box part of the semi truck sitting above the wheels, about 3 feet off the ground. This is how dumb I am. This is how small we are. This is how little we know about what we're doing in mass production. We've got to unpalletize, unshrink wrap all of these shrunken down, stacked pallets of sacks, break them down to half that size. We're already a week behind schedule, already running more shifts than we planned on, already no profit. It's going to find its way to us. And we just got to keep going. By the end of this whole process, man, 2 months solid of this kind of work, these kind of embarrassing moments as we learn as we go. My hands are stained blue. They're cracked from handling all the foam, dried out. I am physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted, out of energy, out of time. got to get the last shipment off, not going to make any money on the whole deal. And now I don't even have any customers. We got to run out and find customers. And it's in this, I don't know, it's in this place that the Shawnism is born. Grit is half the game. And I'll read you the first sentence from the book in this chapter. Building anything to scale is just playing hard. It's complex and multifaceted, but if you need one trait to succeed in the end, it is this one. True grit can make up for almost any deficiency. In the early stages, it takes grit to succeed. It's physical and emotional. Over time and with scale, challenges become even more involved, escaping the bounds where even the relentless tenacity and hard work of an entire team cannot guarantee success. The necessary fortitude then shifts to mental, intellectual, and strategic and disciplined sort of grit. But it's grit nonetheless. I get the opportunity to unpack this topic with an amazing guest today from a totally different discipline. And what's cool are the parallels that you will see articulated in the same way, coming at it from a totally different angle. It's more than just doggedness. It's the discipline to work proactively, to seek out talent, to do it better. The grit to wake up a little earlier or study or get fit or both. The self-control to say no. These are all little snippets from the book. Look, this topic is near and dear to my heart because for all the other Shawnisms, for all the other things that I could share with you to hopefully save you some chunk of 25 years, grit is half the game. This week on the pod, we welcome a living legend, an icon of our time, a household name in his own right, I think. 79 NFL touchdowns on one team alone, more after he came out of retirement, roughly 10 yards per reception average. That's like a first down every time he touches the ball. 5-time Pro Bowl selection, NFL's 2010s all-decade team, and their 100th anniversary all-time team tight end. What? But of course, he is simply, in my opinion, and by most of the numbers, the best to ever play the position. Raised in New York, next to youngest of 5 college, then pro athletes. This is no dumb jock. He graduated high school with honors, super high GPA, math is his favorite subject, achieved top SAT scores, taking him to the University of Arizona studying business, where after he was drafted into the NFL after only 2 years. We have a man who has not just been radically successful on the field, but so successful in business off the field. He reportedly has never touched his earnings from the NFL, but lived off his investments and endorsements through his dealings along the way. I am super pumped to have Mr. Yo Soy Fiesta, the party himself, on the pod, Mr. Rob Gronkowski.
Shad, I appreciate the introduction, man. You're getting me a little juiced up right now. I'm going to have to hit a workout after this podcast.
Yeah.
Today. Yes, no doubt about it.
Let's do it. All right, man. Well, look, this week's Shawnism from the book, Let Me Save You 25 Years, Grit is Half the Game, is, of course, an outweighted Shawnism in terms of its importance. By my own definition, it's half the game. This is half of it. One Shawnism. The other half, then, is all the other topics on the pod. So you can't think of a better person to unpack grit for our listeners than the Gronk. So, look, without even thinking too hard, Rob, you heard grit. First thoughts that come to your mind from your learnings along the way.
Yes, grit is a powerful word. I feel like it can sum up so many different meanings and just put it all in one. And that's what grit is, you know. You can start from the very beginning with grit. You can end with grit. And in the middle of that all, there can be grit. Actually, there is grit in the middle of it all. If you want to be successful, you got to have grit, you know. Grit is just so powerful, and you want to learn about grit. You want to have grit. And if you don't have grit, you're kind of not going to be successful in this world.
There you go. It's half the game. As I say, you know, there's lots of other lessons. And I really believe that. Like, of all of the topics we cover just in my little book, this one is the one that if you have to be without all the others, like, don't be without grit. I think that it is necessary for an entrepreneur. I think it is necessary, obviously, for someone who could make it in the NFL. let alone thrive in the NFL as you have, how would you define it? Like, if you had to try to define the word grit or the concept of grit, as you said, it can encompass a lot, but how would you choose to define it?
Oh, I mean, there's so many different meanings what grit can define, but I'll kind of go with your effort, your character, mental toughness, your growth, bouncing back from adversity. And that's just some of, the definitions of what grit can stand for. But I would say particularly more that stand with myself, resiliency, consistency, being able to overcome any situation, which is basically adversity, never quitting, persistence. I would say that all sums up the word grit. And then also there's probably 50 other words that can sum up the word grit, but I would say those ones right there are the ones that stick with me and kind of, got me through life to where I am now.
I love it. Yeah. I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, it's a power. So little known fact, probably, Lovesac. I think a big reason for Lovesac's continued success over now 2.5 decades is this use of a strategic guide where we capture like our core values, our guiding principles. I'm sure like all the teams you played for had, similar kinds of values and principles that you were expected to live up to. We only have 3 core values. We have other aspirational values, things that we want to be. We have table stakes values, things you got to be just to come in the door. But we only named 3 at Lovesac. And one of those 3 is just the word grit. And, it actually changed over the years. Like it used to be in our earliest days, our entrepreneurial days, it was make it happen. We had a make it happen culture. And that was useful when we had to just like make it happen. But as we grew up and got more sophisticated and became, a multi-$100 million business that had to really live up to high expectations as a public company, et cetera, we changed one of these holy core values from being make it happen to grit, because as you just described, grit encompasses, as I believe, so much more. So as you think about it, let's first go as like let's go to the NFL for a second. So as an athlete, or as an athlete in general, what best represented in your mind guys around you that had grit versus guys that maybe didn't have as much? And you were probably surrounded, look, you're in the NFL, you're in the elite of the elite, but you had a long come up. You've experienced a lot of other athletes around you, and you've witnessed the best of the best of the best, the GOAT. I mean, you're like you're the other end of that stick. So what's the difference between the guys who, or gals who exhibit true grit versus those that don't?
Yes, 100%. That's a wonderful question. No doubt about it, Shawn. But everyone that I noticed that exhibited grit, exemplified what the word grit mean, the definition of what grit is, they were all successful no matter what type of talent they possessed. I saw some players that had grit. They didn't have the talent. They fought every single day. They fought through adversity. They worked as hard as they could every single day than the guy that had more talent than them at that position. And what happened? The guy that had less talent but more grit was more successful and outworked the guy with the more talent and took his job because he had more grit. And then the guy, I seen players, unbelievable talent, didn't work hard at all, have no grit, didn't care about adversity. When things got hard, they would just fold, and you just wonder why. And those are the guys that fall off, and then you shake your head and you go, remember this, 2 years later, you run into him, and then you're with your other friend, and you're like, man, that guy was so talented, but he never worked. He didn't work at it. He didn't want to overcome hard situations, and therefore he never made it. That's why he never hit the field. That's why he was on the practice squad only. That's why he got cut after a year. And I just can use that with so many examples with guys in the NFL. There's always going to be guys more talented than you. There's always going to be guys that are faster than you. There's always going to be guys that are stronger than you. But that doesn't mean that they're a better football player than you. And to be a great football player or a better football player than someone else, you got to have grit. You got to have that growth factor in you. You got to have that intensity. You got to have that resilience that no one's going to take you down. And that the guy with more talent, because football is not all about talent. talent. It's about, mental toughness and physical toughness as well. And if you don't have that, and you have if you don't have mental and physical toughness, but you got talent, but you're playing football, guess what? You're not going to make it. And that's why the guys that have grit always make it, and those are the guys you love to watch out in the field, because they get fucking knocked right on their ass and they get right back up, and that's what fans love to see. And that's why I love I love this podcast right now, because I feel like I represented grit no matter what. I would take 5 guys on, they would be leveling me, taking out my freaking knees, taking me out down low, another guy hitting me high in my shoulders. I go down, I feel like I just got ran over by a Mack truck, but I get right back up, baby, and get right back in the huddle, because my teammates are depending on me to be back there for the next play to get the job done, and get that W for that day.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, listen, you're like breaking me up just listening to you, because I've seen those moments with my own eyes, man. And it's like, I mean, you know what they look like. You've watched the film, and such a great representation of it. So, and you witnessed it. I love what you shared. Like the idea that the guys who had more grit took the job from the guys who had more talent, and you could see it.
Yes. And I would say, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go. You got it. Go.
No, I just am curious. Like, do you perceive yourself, in all honesty? I'm curious, and maybe you do. I mean, you certainly have the numbers to prove it. Were you the most talented tight end as well? Or do you think you saw guys who you felt had even more talent, but you outgritted them? I'm curious.
No, I don't think I was the most talented tight end in the NFL. There's no chance I was. I've seen players. I play with players with more talent than me. They just had it. I just love to work at it. After practice, my whole rookie year, I used to stay after practice with Tom every single day just to get on the same page as the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. And I was wondering why at first. I was a young guy. I was like, why does he want me to stay after, And he showed me the way. He had grit from day one. He was determined. He was ready to go. He was trying to grow every single day. He was fighting through adversity. And at first, I'm 21 years old. I'm like, why does he want me to go out and stay after practice, run extra routes? And then it finally clicked. And I'm like, all right, that if you want to be great, if you want to get on the same page, if you want to go to games and make it easy, you got to do that. It's all about the practice. So you can take the practice and bring that to the field on game day. So just grit is just such a great word. Yes, it stands for a lot of things, but you got to have grit to be great. And one guy I would say that represented grit like I'd never seen before is Julian Edelman. The guy was a quarterback in college at the University of Akron. Was it Akron? It was the school in Ohio. I'm pretty sure it was Akron. What's the other school in Ohio? No, oh man, I'm pretty
Bowling
sure
Green. I don't know.
No, the other one. Dang! Oh my gosh, I just went blank. Well, whatever school he went to, I just can't think of it. I think it was Akron. I'm 99% sure it was Akron. Okay. And he was a quarterback there. He was in the MAC, which isn't the most popular division in college football, but it's still Division I, no doubt about it. He got drafted by the Patriots, only a 7th rounder, no expectations at all. He's seen Randy Moss, he played with Wes Welker, he's played with all these other guys that are drafted in front of him. And he always had a chip on his shoulder, Julian Edelman. And a guy with no expectations, 7th rounder, comes in, ends up being the punt returner, being a special team core player, playing defense for a couple years as well as a defensive back for the New England Patriots. Just keep finding ways to get out on the field. Whatever challenge it was, he never backed down. And that definitely sums up grit right there. Never backing down from a challenge. Finding yourself, finding more ways to become valuable. And that's what this kid did. And then eventually Wes Welker left. And Wes Welker, one of the best slot receivers in the game. You're not going to play in front of Wes Welker when you're a rookie, no matter how good you are. He learned from Wes Welker. He saw what he did. And then when Julian Edelman got a turn at the slot receiver, after playing all the special teams, punt return, and doing all that to help out the team, he took that slot receiving position and took it to another level and became a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He made that wonderful catch in the Super Bowl, and whenever it came down to the last wire. Whenever it came down to the final play of the game and we needed to make a play, Julian Edelman was always there in the big time moments. He represents grit like I never seen before. But there's many players that I play with that represent grit, but I would say that he was one of them that represented it to the highest T. He just never backed down. He was trying to grow every single day, whatever position it was out on the field, and playing around guys like that, being around guys like that elevates your game as well, and it just wears off onto you. And that's why we won so many Super Bowls in New England, because we had so many guys that wanted to be great and, just take on the adversity, overcome it, and do what they needed to do on the field to be a great teammate to win championships and get it done. Like you said, your mantra you guys had with Lovesack, just get it done. That's what we did. We just got it done. If it was sloppy, if it was beautiful, if it was ugly, if it was sexy, it didn't matter. We got it done.
I love that you shared that, because I didn't know his background. And I think it's such a good example of, had he not had the grit to write it out, take it on the chin, do some things maybe he didn't even envision at first, take some positions he didn't even want, who knows what, he probably could have never gotten in the position that he ended up in to be that slot receiver.
Oh, and let me tell you, it wasn't the University of Akron. I got it confused. It was Kent State. I knew it was one of them. Kent is in Ohio as well. My bad, Julian. I don't know. I went blank for the moment. So there was no grit in my memory at that moment of remembering where you went to college. But guess what? I overcame it. I admitted my mistake, and I looked up where you went to college so I can overcome the mistake that I did. I'll never forget it again.
Yeah, you know what? Like, let's build on that. So actually, that represents, believe it or not, a microcosm of why we altered our core value from just make it happen to grit as we grew up. In that, look, they're cousins, right? Like, that attitude, as you described, there is similar, but the difference is, as we got more sophisticated as a business, we got past the point where just pure toughness, willpower, hard work could do it. We had hundreds of employees. We had bankers. We had, all kinds of more sophisticated problems that required the exactitude, the mental toughness, the willingness, not just to push through, but to maybe solve the problem more permanently by putting in process. Like, as almost like what also, I think, to build on what you described, it's no longer just, hey, I can go out there and try my hardest. It's like, you had to have the grit to put in all of that pre-work so that you had the muscle memory to pull those catches down, to, achieve the excellence that was sustainable versus just pure willingness to go make it happen. And that level of grit is something different than just a make it happen attitude. One leads to the other, but that was a big, revelation for me as a business person.
Yes. And I bet at first you were working so hard. You tell me if I'm wrong or not. I bet you were working hard. You were trying your hardest. You were doing things the way that you thought it was going to get things done, with Lovesack. I bet you it got you to a point where you needed to get to, but then you probably got stalled, I bet, for a little bit. You couldn't grow anymore. And you probably had to figure out a new way to do it. And you were probably working so hard, but you weren't growing. So then it's about the instincts. It's about going about the best way about it, changing up the techniques. And I would say in my life, I got through my NFL career because I just worked hard. I used to go in, toss up weights, just run over people, never take care of my body. And then I finally, age 26, 27, I hit that stalling point. Like, it's all right. It's like, all right, I can't go out to practice every single day and perform. I'm losing it. I'm working hard. I'm still giving it my all, my best effort. But guess what? I'm hurting now. My pains, they're aching. What can I do? I never took care of my body. So then the instincts kick in, and then you got to go about it the best way possible to keep you going. And that's what I did for sure. I learned from Tom, guys played until he's 45 years old. Asked him what his techniques were, to heal every single day. Asked other veterans that were running routes and hitting guys, how do you recover so you're good to go for every single day? And then therefore you can establish yourself to play longer. Definitely the way I trained is totally different from when I was 21 to 26 years old from when I was 26 to when I finished my career when I was 32 years old. So adapting to change as well is huge. And I bet you with Lovesac, you went through that situation as well, having to adapt, even though you were working very, very hard and you're probably at a stall point at some point. Is that true?
No, totally. I think you just articulated through the metaphor of football exactly what I'm trying to describe, that, you know, in the beginning of, I think, almost anything, pure make it happenness can drive you and carry you, but it can only carry you so far. And at a point in our development, or at this, you know, in your case, you know, you were fighting a different battle with age and with, you know, physicality, that had you only clung on to what you knew, that make it happen, drive through attitude, you wouldn't have progressed. But employing the grit to now pursue nutrition, to, you know, train differently, like that's a different kind of grit. I'm telling you, it's like a whole different ballgame when you start to get more scientific about things, more planful about things. And you learn like just the pure physical and mental toughness that got you here needs to transition to other kinds of preparation, toughness, you know, even at the spiritual level, to get you to that next level. And that's why we altered even at the core value level, how we think at Lovesac, and it goes deeper. So that's one of the misconceptions about the word grit, I think, is that it's, you know, it's just this driving force, but it's more than that. And I think you recognize that right from the beginning. So I'm curious now to shift gears a little, because, you know, yourself, I consider you an entrepreneur. You know, you've whether you've thought about it this way or not. I mean, it's not just that you've made a bunch of money and that you've got Gronk Beach, which is cool, and all of the other endorsements and things that you've achieved. But like, as you think of yourself as a business person that's successfully grown his wealth, grown concepts and organizations and brands, have you applied grit in that realm? And how might have you applied any kind of grit in that realm?
Yes, 100%, man. I kind of take what I've learned on the football field and I've kind of took it into that world as well. First off, I'm not going to do anything that I'm not going to give 100% to. You know, I'm not going to accept an endorsement offer and show up to the commercial shoot and be half-assed and be lackadaisical and not really give it my all. You know, that's just not me. Whenever I commit to something, I give it my all. And I would say that's probably another definition of grit is once you commit is giving yourself to it, you know, not backing down and giving it your best shot, even if you fail. And if you fail, get back up and do it again. But I love to give 100% on my commercial shoots. I love to give 100% to the product that I am representing. And one thing at first, this is kind of the adapt and change of grit as well, is, you know, I wanted to make money. I was 21 years old. People were offering me things that I didn't even believe in. Like I was doing like this one time, this knee brace at 21. They gave me like $5,000 to shoot this little crappy commercial. And I was like, this is the worst product ever. But I was like, $5,000. Me and my roommate were just freaking mind blown that we had a $5,000 check for shooting a freaking 2-hour commercial at like the little corner field in Foxborough that looked just absolutely terrible. The whole shoot was terrible. We didn't care. We had $5,000. And then eventually it was just adapting and changing to, I was doing some things. I was like, I don't even like this product. Like I'm at the shoot, giving it my all still, but I'm like, I don't even like this product. I don't even want to be here if I don't like it. So adapting and changing what I was representing to what I really wanted to represent, things that I believed in my life as well. And now I have a whole list and I love doing them all. Like my dad, he's been in fitness. He's been selling fitness equipment for 33 years now, retail and commercial fitness equipment. And we started the product line Gronk Fitness. So I represent Gronk Fitness. My family, they do a wonderful job selling fitness equipment. We have a whole line coming out in December and January of this year and next year that we're dropping with Gronk Fitness. And I work out every single day. Gronk Fitness fits my life. My brother came out with Ice Shaker. It's a protein insulated ice shaker cup. And I love protein. I always have a cup full of protein or ice cold drink, and it keeps your drink cold for more than 24 hours. So if I'm out here in Florida, it's wonderful. That fits my profile. Also, Lovesac. I love chilling on the couch. You got to recover. Lovesac. great and comfortable. How can you recover if you're not comfortable? You know what I mean? And on top of it, there's many other things like Wolf and Shepherd shoes. You've probably seen those commercials. They're all over the place. I don't like dress shoes, man. I don't like being all dressed up. That's why I'm a shorts and t-shirt guy. People are always like, yo, you never dress up. My girlfriend's like, you never dress up. I'm like, I'm shorts and t-shirt. I like to be comfortable. Well, I was introduced finally to Wolf and Shepherd. They're like kind of a high-end dress shoe, but let me tell you, it feels like you got some Nikes on. And that's when I fell in love with them. I go, all right, now we're talking. I can dress up, baby. And she loves them. She's like, oh, you looking good now tonight. I'm like, yes, I am, baby. So I love going up to the showing up to the commercial shoots now, giving it my all. Products I love to represent as well, and just going full out and giving the best product out and representation for all the consumers out there.
Yeah, this is so good because this is, look, one of only 3 core values at Lovesac. Half the game is defined by my own Shawnism in the book in 4 letters, GRIT, because, you just, for instance, articulated new dimensions of the word, the idea of being principled, the idea of like being, being really standing on your principles. Like you're not just going to endorse anything because they're cutting you a check. Like part of grit, part of having the grit to say no, part of having the grit to, stand on principle, not just for endorsements, but in life, right? Part of having the grit to keep your commitments, as you say, to show up and give 100%. Like if you've committed to something, even if now you decide later, man, I don't know if I want to be here, but I'm the same way, man. Like my parents taught me, we keep our commitments. So I'm here. I agreed to be here. I'm 100%. And it all boils down to this one word. And that's why it's so powerful. It's so great to hear you reflect these ideas.
Yes, man. Well, I did say at first yes to basically all the endorsements at the beginning, but then, I was young, I didn't really know what determination was, what I really wanted. So you're saying yes, but then as you get older, man, things change. And that's when grit started coming in. And like you said, the grit to say no, that was very powerful, what you just said. When I finally started being able to stand up for myself, to say no to things that I didn't want to do, let me tell you, a handful of new things would come knocking on the door the next day or the next week. And they were bigger projects, and they were projects that you wanted to do. So no is the most powerful word out there. Yeah. And let me tell you, you people listening, say no when your gut is telling you to say no.
Oh, so good. And listen, I'm grateful you said yes. Our listeners are so grateful you said yes. This podcast, just so you know, like this book I've written, Let Me Save You 25 Years, coming out this winter, it shares all of these 25 Shawnisms, and I'm donating all of the net proceeds to the Future Business Leaders of America. I'm not looking to make another buck off of selling books. This podcast is in the same spirit. I have no advertisers. I'm putting this content out there because I'm just hoping other people can learn from my mistakes and frankly, your mistakes. Like the fact that you're transparent about, this learning journey that you've been on is so valuable. And this is exactly what I'm describing. Like if others can develop the grit in the ways that we've described, maybe even a little earlier, and not have to learn every lesson for themselves. That's the spirit of this podcast. That's the spirit of the book. And is there anything else, before we wrap up, if you could go back and, talk to yourself, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, how might you save someone? How might you save yourself 25 years? Any other piece of advice you'd give to young Gronk?
Yes. I definitely would. Well, first off, we kind of already hit it. Learn to say no. That was huge. That's very powerful in the world. Better things will come if you say no. If your gut's telling you no, say no. Another thing is have fun. There's no doubt about it. I had plenty of fun, but I've also learned from my fun as well. If you want to go out, have a good time, go to the bar, be responsible. There was points in my life where I would get too drunk, and then I was an athlete, and you're drunk. My freaking muscles, they're dehydrated, and then trying to go out and practice, and I couldn't go as fast as I wanted to go running wise because I knew I would pull a hamstring or pull a calf muscle because I was so dehydrated. So make sure you do everything smartly. Of course, like I said, have your fun, but don't ever go too overboard. I did that sometimes. I learned my lesson. I paid my lessons from some hangovers at practices and almost pulling muscles and all that crazy stuff. So have fun. Don't go too overboard. be responsible, and have good people around you as well. You know, it's you're kind of defined by the people around you, in you know, public settings and private settings as well. And you learn from those people that are around you as well. So that's what it's all about. And if you fail, it's fine. Every successful person in this world has failed plenty and plenty of times. So just get back up, find a new way, or overcome it somehow.
Look at that, man. You could have written the book for me. And that's the point, right? Like, I don't care whether you're successful in football, in entrepreneurship, business, management, who knows what realm. The principles are the same. And you've been a master at unpacking some of those for us today. Really grateful that you said yes to this one, and grateful to have you on the podcast. Keep an eye out for Gronk Fitness. Coming at you big time. In fact, you can follow Gronk, as I do on social media, in particular on Instagram, simply Gronk, at Gronk. Please check out gronknation.com, where their mission is to help kids stay actively involved in school and sports and provide them with the tools needed to help them follow their dreams. Amazing work Rob's doing. Donate and participate there. Please don't forget to like and share this podcast. Subscribe to it. Please share it with a friend. Maybe help them shave a chunk off of their 25-year journey, because you're just that kind of friend. Thank you so much to the Titan of tight ends, the superstar of Spike, the founder of Fiesta, and the guru named Gronk, who is still dreaming, chasing, building, playing, and partying after all of his record-breaking success already. This was amazing. Thank you. And to everyone listening. Yeah.
Yes, appreciate you having me on, Shawn. And first off, what's your Instagram tag? Because I need to follow you right now. And second, can you please send me your book? I need to read it. And third, everything that you're saying about grit as well, I believe and I love. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and your passion as well, and helping out people in this world to get to where they need to get to.
Signed copy on its way to you. Let me save you 25 years. I'm Shawn of Lovesack on social media. You can follow me just like Gronk's going to. Appreciate that. And remember, if you're out there listening, grit is half the game. So stay gritty. It just might save you 25 years. Grateful to be with you.
Thank you, my man.
My trip that I do once a year to take my friends away should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.